I haven't touched you in 3 months, Alita, so tell me, how are you pregnant? She blinked, eyes wide, fingers tightening around the pregnancy stick like it might protect her from the truth. Michael, don't start, she said quietly, avoiding my stare. This is supposed to be a happy moment. Happy? Was that what we were calling betrayal now? 3 months ago, we'd agreed to take space, after the last miscarriage, after the night I found her standing in the rain at 2 a.m., whispering Jason's name in her sleep. I told her I needed distance. Separate rooms, no contact. Time to think. She cried then, said I was being cold, said I was making things up. You're paranoid, she said. She said it with that same soft venom she always used when I was too close to the truth. But now she is pregnant. And I had receipts. 3 missed calls from Sarah last week. 1 anonymous photo of Alita walking into Jason's apartment in the middle of the night. And now, this. 2 pink lines. A shaking smile. A lie so fragile, it was cracking in her throat. Alita, I said, keeping my voice steady, say it. Say what? She snapped. Say you've been faithful. Say this baby is mine. She didn't. She just sat down slowly on the edge of the bed and stared at her hands. The air in the room thickened, not with rage, but with something worse. Realization. The woman I married was not the woman I thought she was. Alita, I said again, calmly now. How long has it been with Jason? She laughed, a dry, broken laugh. That's what this is about? This is about a baby growing inside you that didn't come from me. Her jaw tightened. You're obsessed. You always think I'm cheating. Because you are, I said. She stood, suddenly fierce, a storm in silk. I'm tired of living under a microscope, Michael. I'm tired of proving myself to you. No one asked you to prove anything, just not to lie. He doorbell rang. We both froze. I opened the door. Sarah stood there, her hair messy, lips pressed tight. She didn't greet me. She looked past me, straight at Alita. You told him. Alita's silence was louder than any scream. Sarah stepped forward. Michael, you're not crazy. I saw them. I've known for weeks. I exhaled, finally, like the weight of pretending to believe her had snapped off my ribs. I told her to come clean, Sarah whispered. She wouldn't. She said you'd forgive her like always. I turned to Alita. She looked smaller now, diminished, or maybe I had just stopped seeing her through love. You should go, I told Sarah quietly. Sarah hesitated. Are you okay? No, I said, but I will be. She left. I turned back to Alita, who had sat down again, her face blank. She rubbed her stomach like she was still convincing herself the child inside could fix what she'd broken. Alita, I said slowly, you once told me I was paranoid. She didn't respond. But I wasn't. She looked up at me then, and there was fear in her eyes. I don't want to lose you, she said. You lost me the moment you chose Jason. A tear slid down her cheek, but I felt nothing. She whispered, it was just once. I stared at her. That lie might work on Jason, but not on me. She looked down again. And in that silence, something inside me hardened. Alita, I said. You can keep the house, you can keep your things, but you cannot keep lying. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered, but you did, and for the first time in months, I felt clarity, not rage, not heartbreak, just cold, clean certainty. I wasn't paranoid, I was married to a stranger, and the child she carried, it wasn't mine. My name is Michael Warren, 32 years old, co-founder of a rising architecture firm in the heart of the city. To most people, I've always been the guy who doesn't raise his voice, who keeps everything neat, my desk, my life, my marriage. A quiet perfectionist. But under the still surface, I've always carried one flaw too heavy to ignore. I fell in love too deeply, too absolutely, especially with the wrong people. Her name was Alita Moore when I met her. It was raining at a networking event, of all places, and she was the one standing in the center of the room, sipping champagne like the whole world revolved around her, and maybe it did. Not because she was loud or flashy, Alita didn't need to be. She had that kind of soft glow beauty that made people lean in just to hear her speak. Her voice was warm, elegant, like velvet with sharp edges. She talked to me first, said, "You look like you'd rather be anywhere else." I smiled. You're not wrong. She laughed. A real one. Not performative. Not yet. I fell in love that night, hard and fast. She didn't even let me kiss her on the first date, but I didn't mind. She made waiting feel like a resource. Iward, she told me about her childhood, raised in a family that admired image more than intimacy, a father who took pictures with her but never asked how she was, a mother who gave her branded shoes instead of comfort. I thought I understood her. I thought I could give her the love she never got. I proposed to Alita 10 months after we met. She said yes with a trembling voice and teary eyes, but even then, something felt off. A flicker in her expression I couldn't name, but I ignored it. Because love is good at explaining away red flags as accidents. Our wedding was perfect. Not extravagant, Alita liked things tasteful. She wore a sleek off-shoulder gown, and her smile never wavered once during the ceremony. My mother said she looked like royalty. But on the honeymoon, I noticed she cried in her sleep. She said it was just the stress. For the first 2 years, things were calm. Quiet evenings, weekly date nights. But Alita was never affectionate without effort. I had to ask for hugs, initiate every kiss. Even when we tried for a baby, it felt mechanical. She was doing it because she was supposed to. Still, I believed she loved me. I had no reason not to. Until Jason came back. Jason and I had been friends since university. We'd studied architecture together, started our first internship at the same firm, and once shared a cramped 2-bedroom apartment in New York. I trusted Jason like a brother. I was the best man at his wedding, and I held him when that marriage fell apart. What I didn't know was that while I was helping him stand back up, he was already looking at my wife. Jason returned to the city after 2 years abroad. I introduced him to Alita over dinner. They clicked instantly, too quickly. He complimented her perfume before I could. She laughed at all his jokes, even the bad ones. He offered to help with her interior design blog. She accepted. Told myself I was overthinking it, that I was being sensitive. Then came the silences. Alita started coming home later. She said she was exploring new cafe designs for her brand. I believed her. Until one night I spotted Sarah, Alita's best friend and our mutual friend, sitting at a bar, drunk out of her mind. She pulled me aside, trembling. "Michael, there's something you should know." I didn't ask. I didn't need to. I saw it in her eyes. Still, Sarah didn't say anything specific that night, just that I should watch and wait, that if I loved Alita, I deserved the truth. So I waited and watched. Alita became more distant, stopped asking about my day. I stopped caring whether I came home at 7 or midnight. She forgot our 3rd anniversary, claimed she was working on a campaign. Jason, of course, was in all her photos. I confronted her once, gently. She laughed. "Michael, are you serious? Jason's your friend." "You used to be my wife," I said. Her eyes flashed with something I hadn't seen before, not guilt, annoyance, like I was a burden. A chore she was tired of managing. But the final blow came later. It started with a phone call, from Sarah, tears in her voice. "I saw them." "Who?" "Alita and Jason." I didn't ask where, I already knew. That night, I didn't yell, I didn't confront, I simply moved into the guest room. She knocked on the door once, I didn't open. 2 weeks later, she said she wanted to rebuild trust. She made dinner, kissed my cheek, acted warmly. I didn't fall for it. Because love, once betrayed, becomes a mirror. You stop seeing them, you start seeing the cracks. Then she told me she was pregnant, and everything fell apart. Not because I hated her, but because I knew exactly when we stopped being intimate. The night she said she needed emotional space, 3 months ago. So I looked her dead in the eyes and asked, "How long has it been with Jason?" She didn't answer. She didn't need to. I didn't scream. Didn't throw anything. I just stepped outside and stared at the city lights. I thought of every moment I held back tears for her, every lie I swallowed, every birthday I planned, every flower I brought home after her mood swings, every time I told myself she was just distant, never disloyal. And I realized, I was married to the illusion of Alita, not the woman herself. The woman herself was cruel and brilliant at it. Jason didn't betray me, he exposed her. Sarah was right, I wasn't paranoid, I was paying attention. And now, I would stop being quiet. Because Michael, everyone knew, the composed man who endured, was gone. Now, I was just a man who had nothing left to lose. The first crack appeared on a Wednesday, not because Alita did something dramatic, not because Jason came by uninvited, but because of what wasn't said. She walked into the kitchen wearing that oversized cream sweater, the one I bought her for our 2nd anniversary. She used to smile when she wore it. Today, she didn't. She poured herself tea without asking if I wanted any. Her eyes stayed fixed on her phone. I was seated across from her at the island counter, watching, not staring, just noticing. "Morning," I said. She nodded. "Morning." That was it, no kisses, no touch, not even eye contact. Then came the ding of a message. Her phone lit up. Jason's name flashed across the screen. She flipped it face down. "Alita," I said calmly. She froze. "Yeah? Are you seeing him?" "What?" She blinked, then chuckled, a low, performative laugh. "You're joking, right?" "I'm not." She crossed her arms. "Michael, that's your best friend, and you're accusing me of—" "What exactly?" "I'm asking." She scoffed, like she couldn't believe the audacity. "I'm working with him, for the blog, we're planning a space design collaboration, that's it. You two texts late, you disappear on weekends, you're always talking about needing air, and suddenly you're pregnant after 3 months of no intimacy." Her hands tightened into fists. "So now you're counting days?" "I'm counting silences." She stood up so fast the stool nearly toppled. "I can't do this," she muttered. "I won't sit here and be interrogated like I'm on trial." I didn't stop her as she grabbed her bag and walked out. Later that day, Sarah called. "Michael," she said, her voice tight. "I tried to talk to her again. She won't listen. She thinks she can lie her way through this." I said nothing. Sarah hesitated. "You don't deserve this," she added. "I know," I replied. "Then why haven't you left yet?" "I need to see how far she's willing to go." That Friday, Alita suggested dinner. "I want to talk," she said, without meeting my eyes. We went to a rooftop place near Midtown. She wore red, Jason's favorite color. I didn't comment. She reached across the table, placing her hand on mine. "I know I've been distant." "Yeah. I know you've been hurting." "I'm still hurting." She swallowed. "Can we start over?" I stared at her. "Why now?" "Because I want to fix this." "You're pregnant." She didn't flinch. "Yes." "Is it mine?" Her hand withdrew. "I don't want to fight tonight, Michael." "That's not a fight. That's a yes or no question." Her lip trembled. She looked away. And that's when I knew. The baby wasn't mine. And she wasn't going to admit it. I didn't get angry. I didn't even sigh. I just leaned back in my chair and said, "You're going to lie your way through this entire pregnancy, aren't you?" She blinked rapidly. "I just need time." "No, you needed honesty, months ago." She clenched her napkin. "So what, Michael? You're walking away?" "I'm not walking, I'm just done standing still." Her voice dropped. "You're making this harder than it has to be." "No, Alita, you did." She didn't come home that night. On Saturday morning, Sarah texted again. "You need to see this." Attached was a photo. Jason, Alita, holding hands outside an OB/GYN clinic, her head leaned on his shoulder, his lips near her temple. They weren't hiding. I didn't forward the picture. I didn't need to. She would lie again, and I didn't care to listen. Instead, I printed it, I folded it, slid it into the drawer where she kept her jewelry. On Sunday, Alita brought me coffee. She sat on the couch like nothing happened. "Have you thought about names?" she asked. I looked at her like she was a stranger who wandered into my house. "Names for what?" "For the baby." I let the silence stretch. "Alita," I said, "if I told you I already know, what would you say?" She blinked. "Know what?" I tilted my head. "Jason." She exhaled sharply, defensive. "Michael, you're letting your imagination run wild. Then why were you two at the clinic together?" Her eyes widened. "You're spying on me?" "No," I said. Sarah sent me the photo. She stood. You're disgusting. You let your ex-friend stalk me? I didn't rise. Alita, you did this. No, you did, with your constant suspicion, your emotional distance, your obsession with control. I stared at her. I wasn't distant, I was grieving, for the child we lost, for the wife I no longer recognize. She threw her coffee onto the carpet. I hate you sometimes, Michael. Then we're finally even. She left again. By Monday, the locks were changed. She came back screaming. You can't do this. I already did, I said, handing her the envelope with the divorce papers. Inside was the printed photo, the one between her and Jason. She stared at it for a long time. Then I looked up. I didn't mean for this to happen. You mean the pregnancy or the affair? She didn't answer. Alita, I said softly. I loved you so much I stopped loving myself. And with that, I closed the door. I didn't cry. I didn't break down, I just sat at the window, watching her silhouette walk away. Jason never called, not once. Sarah sent me one final text. I'm sorry, you were right, I replied. It's okay, I'm done being wrong about Alita. The nights were the worst. I'd lie awake in the guest room, staring at the ceiling, trying to remember when exactly it all began to fall apart. Not just the betrayal, not the lies, but the erosion of something soft inside me. I used to love the sound of her voice. Now, I couldn't even recall it without tasting bitterness. Every little thing reminded me of her. The mug she left by the sink, the scarf she forgot on the back of the chair, the faint scent of her perfume still lingering in the hallway. I started turning off the lights more than necessary. Not because I cared about electricity, but because shadows didn't pretend to be people you used to trust. One morning, I found myself staring at a single spoon in the sink. It wasn't a big deal, just one spoon, but I stared at it like it was a crime scene, like it was proof someone had been here who didn't belong anymore. I picked it up, rinsed it, and put it back in the drawer. But the weight didn't leave my chest. Grief was different this time. When Selena, my sister, died, it had been sharp. A stab, a funeral, a closure, but with Alita, it was slower, like bleeding out from a wound I couldn't find. People said things, colleagues asked about her gently, Sarah texted sometimes, Jason didn't. That told me everything. I started walking in the evenings, through the city streets, aimless, hoping maybe exhaustion would numb the ache. It didn't, it just made me think more. I thought about the first time Alita touched my hand, the way she smiled and asked if I was always this quiet. I told her no, that I just liked listening. She said that made me dangerous, that people who listened always knew more than they let on. She had no idea how right she was. The thing about being betrayed is that it forces you to doubt everything, not just the person who did it, but yourself. I began to question every moment I thought we were happy. Was she pretending then, too? Was she smiling for me or for show? Was I ever enough? And worse, was I ever real to her? Or just the stable fallback? The man she married when Jason wasn't ready? I remembered her telling me once, "You're my calm in the storm." Now I wondered if that just meant I bored her. One night, I found an old voice memo on my phone. She had sent it during our second year together. Hey baby, I was just thinking about you. You always make me feel safe, like I could fall apart and you'd still hold me together. I love you, Michael, so much. I'm lucky to have you. I played it 3 times, then deleted it. I didn't want to cling to ghosts that lied. I started waking up at odd hours, 3:17, 4:41, 5:26. Each time, I'd sit on the edge of the bed, breath shallow. It felt like my body was trying to escape a memory it couldn't forget. My appetite vanished, coffee became my meal. Silence, my company. I turned my phone face down most days, because every time it buzzed, I expected something from Alita. A text, a call, a photo, a plea. But she stayed silent. Which meant one thing, she had moved on. Quickly. Easily. And that broke me more than the affair. Because you don't discard someone you love that easily. You don't carry someone for hours, or years, then forget their name in a month. I wondered if Jason held her at night, if he whispered promises into her skin like I used to, if he looked at her belly and believed it was a blessing. Did he know she used to tell me she didn't want children, that she said motherhood terrified her, that she once cried after watching a toddler fall in the park because she said she'd be a bad mom. And now she was glowing, smiling, embracing it. Because it wasn't mine. That was the part I couldn't get past. She told me I was paranoid, then proved I wasn't. And now she got to play the victim while I sat here, peeling apart my own sanity. One afternoon, I saw her across the street. She was coming out of a boutique, Jason at her side. He held her shopping bags. She touched his arm. They laughed. I ducked behind a pole like some cliché, but it wasn't a shame, it was restraint. Because part of me wanted to walk up and say, "Is he worth what you destroyed?" But I didn't, because even now, I didn't want her to think she still had power over me. When I got home, I stared at the mirror. There were bags under my eyes, my beard had grown out, uneven. I looked older. Not in years. In sorrow. I missed the man I used to be. The one who loved gently, the one who believed love was enough. But now I know better. Love isn't enough. Loyalty is. And Alita had none. I sat at the piano for the first time in months. She used to beg me to play. But now, the keys felt foreign. Like they belonged to a different life. I played one note. Then another. Until it turned into a song I hadn't played since our wedding. My hands trembled. I stopped halfway. And wept. Not because I wanted her back, but because I hated that she still lived inside my music. Grief is cruel that way. It doesn't ask permission, it just shows up, wears your skin, speaks in your voice, and you let it. Because pretending you're okay is too exhausting. I lay down on the floor, staring at the ceiling fan spinning. Alita used to call it hypnotic, I used to call her mine. Now, both things made me dizzy. There was a knock at the door that night. I didn't answer. Then came the sound of footsteps fading away, and an envelope slid beneath the door. Inside, a sonogram photo, and one note. "You were right, but I miss you anyway." Alita. I didn't cry, I didn't smile, I just sat there, holding the image of a child that wasn't mine. Then I burned it. Not out of hatred, but because closure sometimes comes in ashes. The envelope should have been the end. The sonogram, the message, her last grasp at pulling something emotional out of me. But I burned it, and I meant to leave it there. I kept going. Work, silence, solitude. I rebuilt my mind one quiet minute at a time. Until one Monday morning, the doorbell rang. I opened it expecting a courier. Instead, Sarah stood there, hair messy, hands shaking, eyes already wet. "Michael, I did something," she whispered. I stepped aside. She walked in without another word. She paced the living room, palms on her temples. I should have said something sooner. I didn't think it mattered, but it does now. You need to know. "Sarah," I said carefully, "what happened?" She pulled a USB drive from her coat pocket. "There's something on here. Jason doesn't know I have it. Alita doesn't either." I took it slowly. "What's on it?" She looked at me, finally. "Security footage, from the clinic." My heartbeat slowed. "Why were you even near that clinic?" She exhaled. "Because I was suspicious too. I saw Alita meet Jason there one morning. I followed them. I didn't mean to spy, I couldn't let you walk blind again." I didn't respond. I plugged the drive into my laptop. The video opened to a hallway view, grainy, angled, timestamped 2 weeks ago. Jason and Alita stepped into frame. She was in a long beige coat, hand resting lightly on her stomach. He held her by the waist, too tight, too intimate. They leaned into each other. Then Jason said something. The audio was faint, but it picked up. "As soon as the papers go through, you'll move in with me, right?" Alita nodded. "Michael won't fight it. He's too tired to." Jason laughed. "He always was. That's what made him useful." Then came the part I wasn't ready for. Alita looked up at him and said, "And if the baby turns out to be his, we'll deal with it then." My chest went still. Jason leaned in again. "I can't wait to be rid of him." I paused the video. The world had stopped spinning. Sarah whispered behind me, "Michael, are you okay?" I said nothing, because there was no vocabulary for what betrayal felt like the second time. Not just emotional, but surgical. They weren't just in love, they were planning something coordinated. I leaned back in my chair, eyes locked on the frozen image of their embrace. I let her sleep beside me for a year, I muttered. Michael? She cried in my arms after every failed pregnancy. I held her every time she broke. I never asked for anything. And this is how she writes the ending? Sarah sat down slowly. There's more. I looked up. What? She hesitated. The baby might not be Jason's either. What are you talking about? She pulled out her phone, scrolled, then handed it to me. It was a message from Jason. You sure it's mine? You said it could be Michael's too. Time stopped again. She told both of you different stories? I asked, my voice barely steady. Sarah nodded. Alita's lying to everyone, playing both sides. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the world looked ordinary, unaware. But inside me, something ruptured. She never intended to choose, she never intended to come clean. Sarah, I said quietly, you told me once I wasn't paranoid. I remember. You were right, but now, I'm not just suspicious. She blinked. Then what are you? Awake. Later that evening, I drove to the clinic myself, used my firm's credentials to gain access to their public service floor plans, asked for a printout of my wife's appointment history under the guise of insurance corrections. One date stood out, 6 weeks prior. I stared at it. I was out of town. Again. I asked the receptionist for clarification. She glanced at the screen. Looks like that appointment was labeled under a fertility follow-up. Was anyone with her? I can't say that, sir. I nodded, didn't push. I already knew. She had been building a backup plan, with Jason, with me, with whoever gave her the most safety net. I left the clinic and sat in the car, engine running, silence boiling in my ears. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore, it wasn't even about betrayal, it was about intention. She intended to trap one of us, she intended to lie until someone folded, she was playing roulette with a baby. And I had been willing to accept silence, accept distance, accept loss, but not this. Not being a placeholder in someone's game. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Full divorce, immediate petition, emergency clause, I want her served by Friday. Are you sure, Michael? I was too soft before, that ends now. Then I texted Sarah. Thank you, for being the only person who told the truth. Her reply came a minute later. It's not over yet. She was right. Because that night, Alita showed up at my door, face pale, no makeup, hair tied back, hands shaking. I know you've seen the video, she said. I didn't ask how she knew, she always knew when the mirror cracked. She stepped inside without waiting. I panicked, she said. I didn't know what to do. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I stayed silent. She looked around the house like it was unfamiliar, because it was no longer hers. I wanted to tell you, I did, but I didn't want to lose everything. I finally spoke. Alita, you lost me the moment you decided I was disposable. My chest went still. Jason leaned in again. I can't wait to be rid of him. I paused the video, the world had stopped spinning. Sarah whispered behind me, Michael, are you okay? I said nothing, because there was no vocabulary for what betrayal felt like the second time. Not just emotional, but surgical. They weren't just in love, they were planning something coordinated. I leaned back in my chair, eyes locked on the frozen image of their embrace. I let her sleep beside me for a year, I muttered. Michael? She cried in my arms after every failed pregnancy. I held her every time she broke. I never asked for anything. And this is how she writes the ending? Sarah sat down slowly. There's more. I looked up. What? She hesitated. The baby might not be Jason's either. What are you talking about? She pulled out her phone, scrolled, then handed it to me. It was a message from Jason. You sure it's mine? You said it could be Michael's too. Time stopped again. She told both of you different stories? I asked, my voice barely steady. Sarah nodded. Alita's lying to everyone, playing both sides. I stood up and walked to the window. Outside, the world looked ordinary, unaware. But inside me, something ruptured. She never intended to choose, she never intended to come clean. Sarah, I said quietly, you told me once I wasn't paranoid. I remember. You were right, but now, I'm not just suspicious. She blinked. Then what are you? Awake. Later that evening, I drove to the clinic myself, used my firm's credentials to gain access to their public service floor plans, asked for a printout of my wife's appointment history under the guise of insurance corrections. One date stood out, 6 weeks prior. I stared at it. I was out of town. Again. I asked the receptionist for clarification. She glanced at the screen. Looks like that appointment was labeled under a fertility follow-up. Was anyone with her? I can't say that, sir. I nodded, didn't push. I already knew. She had been building a backup plan, with Jason, with me, with whoever gave her the most safety net. I left the clinic and sat in the car, engine running, silence boiling in my ears. This wasn't about heartbreak anymore, it wasn't even about betrayal, it was about intention. She intended to trap one of us, she intended to lie until someone folded, she was playing roulette with a baby. And I had been willing to accept silence, accept distance, accept loss, but not this. Not being a placeholder in someone's game. The next morning, I called my lawyer. Full divorce, immediate petition, emergency clause, I want her served by Friday. Are you sure, Michael? I was too soft before, that ends now. Then I texted Sarah. Thank you, for being the only person who told the truth. Her reply came a minute later. It's not over yet. She was right. Because that night, Alita showed up at my door, face pale, no makeup, hair tied back, hands shaking. I know you've seen the video, she said. I didn't ask how she knew, she always knew when the mirror cracked. She stepped inside without waiting. I panicked, she said. I didn't know what to do. I didn't mean for it to go this far. I stayed silent. She looked around the house like it was unfamiliar, because it was no longer hers. I wanted to tell you, I did, but I didn't want to lose everything. I finally spoke. Alita, you lost me the moment you decided I was disposable. I didn't think you'd find out this way. That's the problem. You were worried about being caught, not being cruel. She stepped closer, tears fell. I made mistakes. You built a strategy. She shook her head. Michael, please, I still love you. No, I said, you love control, and I gave you too much. Her voice cracked. You're going to hate me forever? I don't hate you, Alita. She looked up, hopeful. I finished, I don't feel anything at all, and that scared her more than anger. Because you can argue with rage, but not with indifference. I handed her the legal envelope. She didn't open it, just held it like it was on fire. Alita, I said, the game's over. You can pick Jason, or pick peace, but you won't have both. She turned and walked out. This time, I didn't watch her go. Because for the first time, I didn't need to. 3 weeks passed. Alita didn't respond to the divorce petition. No call, no message, not even a lawyer reply, just silence. I expected a fight, expected her to defend herself or plead, but she vanished instead. Jason, however, didn't. He called me, first one, then again, then 5 times in one night. I answered on the 6th. Michael, man, listen, I didn't know everything, I swear, she told me you two were separated, that the baby was mine. Jason, I said, my voice calm, what do you want? I want to meet you, clear the air, please. You want to feel less guilty. He didn't respond. I hung up. The next morning, he showed up outside my building, pacing, sweating, nervous. Same Jason from college, messy hair, fake humility, polished shoes on a cracked foundation. I walked past him. Michael, please, he said, following me down the sidewalk. I made a mistake, I was drunk the first time, Then she showed up again and again and, she lied to you. He nodded. She lied to me too, I said. Jason lowered his voice. She told me she was using you. That made me stop walking, just for a second, because some part of me needed to hear that, not for validation, but for confirmation. And you were okay with that? I asked. His mouth opened. No sound. That told me enough. I turned to leave. But then he said something that shifted everything. She said she was only with you for the house, and that ring. What ring? Jason blinked. The pink diamond one. She said it was rare, custom, yours. My heart stopped. You're lying. No, man, I swear, she showed it to me last year, said she couldn't wear it around you because it would make you ask questions. I just assumed it was hers from before. Why? Because I had never given Alita a pink diamond ring, but I had given one, to someone else, to Sarah. 6 years ago, before Alita, before anything, before I ruined it. I had proposed to Sarah, she had said yes, then 2 months later, I backed out, said she wasn't ready, that she didn't want to be someone's forever yet. I returned the ring to the safe, or at least, I thought I had. Jason looked at me, confused. What's wrong? But I was already walking. Fast. Back to my apartment, straight to the bedroom. I opened the closet, found the old black lockbox on the top shelf, typed in the code, lifted the lid, empty, the pink diamond ring was gone. How? I sat down slowly, mind spinning. Alita. She had stolen it. At some point, months ago, she had gone into the safe and taken the one thing left from my life before her, and given it to Jason as if it were hers, to manipulate him, to manipulate both of us. And Sarah, she never said anything. Why? That night, I called her. She answered on the second ring. Michael? I need to see you, I said. She didn't ask why. Come over. Her apartment hadn't changed, same bookshelf by the window, same candle scent, same framed photo of her late dog by the door. Sarah wore a gray hoodie and jeans, no makeup. I stepped inside, she closed the door behind me. You okay? No. I stared at her. Why didn't you tell me about the ring? She froze. Her hands curled slightly. I wasn't sure if you saw it, I'd remember it, she said softly. Or if you'd hate me for having kept it. So you did take it back? She nodded. After I said no. I came to your place a week later, you weren't home. Alita let me in to get my stuff, I saw the safe open, I took the ring and left. And? A year later, she texted me, asked if I had ever had a pink diamond ring. I was confused, I never wore it again, never told anyone. My voice sharpened. Did you give it to her? No, I never saw her again after that text, I ignored it. Then how did she end up with it? Sarah's eyes darkened. I don't know, unless what? She found my apartment, broke in. I had moved twice since then, but she had Jason. Maybe she used him. My stomach twisted. Sarah walked to the bookshelf, pulled out a small velvet pouch. I found this 2 nights ago, taped under one of my old shoe boxes. She must have dropped it when she broke in. She handed it to me. I opened it. Inside, the pink diamond ring. Unworn, still clean. She never meant to keep it, Sarah whispered. She meant to use it. For the first time in weeks, I felt something dangerous rise in me. Not sorrow, not grief. Clarity. Alita hadn't just cheated, she had rewritten reality, manipulated Jason, violated Sarah, used a ring meant for one love to trap another. I clenched my fists. She doesn't get to walk away from this untouched, I said. Sarah watched me carefully. You're not going to hurt her, are you? No, I said. But I'm going to bury her lies, properly. The next day, I went to my firm's media division, asked for a discreet editor, paid in cash. Make me a video, I said. Of what? A timeline, photos, screenshots, audio, text messages, medical visit logs, a breakdown, chapter by chapter. The editor nodded. How long? Long enough to ruin her carefully curated image. He didn't ask more questions, just got to work. I gave him the USB, the sonogram, Jason's texts, Sarah's messages, the ring photo, everything. By Friday, the video was ready, 6 minutes long, painfully silent, perfect. I uploaded it anonymously, no title, just a caption. She said I was paranoid. Here's the truth. By Sunday morning, it had 1 million views. By Sunday night, Alita called me 27 times. I didn't answer, because I had already said everything I needed to. The world could see it now, the games, the lies, the manipulation. I opened the last drawer in my kitchen and placed the pink diamond ring inside. Then I closed it slowly, let the silence return. Not the hollow silence from before, but a clean one, an earned one. Because I wasn't paranoid, I was right. And now, everyone knows it. The video reached 5 million views in 3 days. By the end of the week, it was all over the internet, on every relationship advice forum, every gossip subreddit, even mainstream blogs started picking it up. No names were mentioned, no faces shown, but everyone knew, because Alita had spent years crafting a picture-perfect image of the modern wife and the elegant digital creator on her blog. Her audience was loyal, but now, they were furious. Comment after comment. She gaslit him into thinking he was crazy. How can someone lie so beautifully and so cruelly? This is the kind of woman who makes people stop trusting love. Alita deactivated her blog on the 4th day. Jason deleted all his social media. Sarah told me he tried calling her too. She blocked him. And me? I slept. For the first time in months, I slept through the night. No dreams, no midnight spirals, no weight on my chest. Just peace. But I wasn't done. Because revenge without resolution is just noise, and I needed silence. So I filed a civil suit, claimed emotional fraud, private theft of property, unauthorized use of sensitive materials, and violation of marital trust. My lawyers built the case like a fortress. They had timestamps, hospital logs, stolen messages, proof of break-in, even receipts of my original pink diamond ring design, the one she tried to pass off as hers. When Alita was served, she showed up at my office unannounced. She looked pale, tired, mascara smudged beneath her eyes like she hadn't slept in days. "I never thought you'd go this far," she said. I stood behind my desk, arms crossed. "You said I was paranoid. I lost everything." "No," I said. "You lost the version of me who tolerated you." She stepped forward. "The world hates me now." "Not the world," I corrected. "Just the version of it you lied to." Her voice trembled. "You were supposed to love me through anything." "I did," I said. "That's the problem." She shook her head. "This baby, he's innocent. And he'll be raised far away from me, because my name won't be on any birth certificate. Not now. Not ever." She tried again. "You were different. Gentle. Kind." "I still am," I said coldly. "That's why you're walking out of here instead of being arrested for breaking into Sarah's apartment." Her eyes widened. She didn't expect me to know that part, but I knew everything now. I nodded at the door. "Leave, Alita, while you still have the option to walk out with whatever dignity you have left." She looked at me one last time, no tears this time, just the look of a woman who finally realized she bet everything. And lost. The trial was brief. Her side tried to argue emotional duress, hormonal instability, claimed I drove her away with distance, but the evidence was overwhelming. She'd taken the ring, lied to both men, used pregnancy as leverage, and kept manipulating even when caught. The court awarded me compensation, full rights to the apartment, restitution for mental anguish, and removal of my name from all medical paperwork relating to the child. Jason never showed up to support her, not once. He had gone back to Ohio. His brother told Sarah he checked into a wellness retreat. Coward. I walked out of the courtroom and straight to the graveyard. Not for Alita, not for revenge, but for my own closure. I brought one thing with me, the pink diamond ring. Sarah met me there. She wore a long grey coat, her hair tied back, hands in her pockets. "You sure you want to do this here?" she asked. I nodded. This is where my peace began. I knelt by the tree we used to sit under during college. Opened the small velvet box. "I bought this for the girl who told me she wasn't ready," I said softly. "And I gave it to the woman who proved I wasn't enough." Sarah stayed silent. "But this ring, it's not cursed, it's just heavy." I placed it gently at the base of the tree, beneath a stone we carved our initials into all those years ago. "You know," Sarah said, "it was never the ring that hurt you." "I know. It was the person you trusted with it." I nodded. I'm done trusting the wrong ones. She looked at me. So who do you trust now? I turned to her. Someone who told me the truth when it wasn't convenient, someone who gave me clarity instead of comfort. She smiled faintly. That doesn't sound romantic. I shrugged. Romance doesn't last, respect does. We walked in silence after that, side by side, not holding hands, not making promises, just walking, and that was enough. 2 months later, a letter came in the mail. No return address. Inside was a photo, Alita, holding a newborn, no caption, no explanation. I placed it on the table, then lit a match, let the flames consume it. Because not every ending needs a memory, some just need fire. I stood on my apartment balcony, watching the city glow beneath me. A new year was starting, the air felt lighter, the silence is no longer lonely. Alita was a lesson, Jason was a warning, Sarah was a reminder. That even when love dies, truth survives. And sometimes, revenge isn't about hurting someone, it's about removing their power over you. Completely. So if she's reading this now, if she ever finds that video again, sees her lies unraveling on every screen, every feed, every whisper on the internet, I want her to know one thing. I was never paranoid, I was precise, and I don't want you back, I want you haunted. By every moment you thought I was weak, by every time you thought I'd stay silent, I won't. I didn't, and now the world knows who you really are, because the ultimate revenge is telling the truth louder than the lies they buried you with.